Hey everyone, it's Hopper, and welcome to the second half of the El Camino de Costa Rica. We just left Orosi and the Rio Macho Lodge, and you would think that it should be all downhill from here, but it's not. We still have more uphill in these mountains, and eventually we'll make it down to the Pacific. So follow along, and let's see the second half of this trail. Just saw some hikers coming the opposite direction, and I was hoping they were El Camino de Costa Rica, but they're just doing a day hike out of Orosi. And yep, but they're from the Czech Republic, which is pretty cool, so it's good to see other travelers. Along this line, we've got some pretty busy leaf cutter ants. They cut these leaves and bring them all the way to their home. As soon as I'm crossing this river, I realize that right over there is a bridge. Yep, could have kept my feet dry. Oh well, they needed to be cleaned anyways. Just arrived here into town, and I just happened to be in front of Soda Silvia. They happen to be closed right now, but she saw me, she knows I'm a hiker, and in about 2 hours, she's gonna cook me dinner and then have breakfast in the morning, because there's really no other place to eat around here. But let me go check into my lodge. And here we are for the night at Cabaña Montaña Verde. It's a pretty basic place. Yep, there are a couple bunk beds in there, a couple bunk beds in here, but since I'm the only person here, I'm taking the big old bed. Well, it took until the 8th day, but it finally decided to rain. It might be the dry season, but always have rain protection. Over here at Soda Silvia, she's whipping up me some good dinner over there. Talk about homemade and fresh. The most dangerous animal on the trail so far hasn't been crocodiles or pumas or jaguars. It's actually been dogs, domestic dogs. They just get really aggressive when you walk by their property. But if you have food, yep, they're like little puppy dogs. They're all nice to you. Hey! Such a sweet face. Hey, good morning. I'm back here at Soda Silvia where I had a delicious breakfast. And here's something we need to remember. That this is a pretty common theme on the trail, that they do not accept credit cards. So please keep that in mind. And by the end of this video, I'm going to tell you about how much money you should bring and how much I spent on average per day. My feet are going to stay dry this morning. Yep, bridges are awesome. The road looks like dirt. Oh, it looks like a little mud, not too bad. And then you hit there and you sink deep, and next thing you know, you look like this. Watch out. Okay, so I got a little off trail. The trail's actually a little bit hard to follow here, but those two guys behind me, they work here in the forest, and they told me that this trail that I'm on right now will get me sort of where I need to get, or at least back on the general area of civilization. But yeah, love it here. I kind of like this alternate trail. It's more dirt trail instead of paved road. Now this trail has some serious ruts. Good thing I'm not bringing my car here. You might not be able to tell from the video, but I'm literally up here in the clouds, like in a cloud forest. Yep, I'm actually at 2,200 meters. Alright, it's been a long time since I've seen some water, so I'm gonna camel up, drink up, and fill up. Looks like I may have to cross this little river, but oh look! There's a cable car. Okay, I decided to forego the cable car and just walk across. After that mud, my feet needed a good cleaning anyways. There are a few structures not well maintained on this side of the trail, but this is where the trail basically ends. There is a trail off that way. It's very small, and it kind of goes off to the northwest, which is not the direction I want to go. So it looks like I'm going to head back across the river and may have to head back to where I started today and reorient. But I tell you, this has been awesome today. I've loved this. This is great. It's actually not on roads, and you feel more like you're in the backcountry. Well, I saw the beginnings of what may have been a trail heading south in the direction I wanted to go, but without a machete, you can't get through these thick jungles. So, well, today I'm just gonna head on back to where I came from, and hey, take it as an adventure day, because it's not a lost day on trail. You still had a great time. I tell you, this is great. I love adventuring, and this is exactly what it is. So, all right, well, let me head back in the direction I came, and I might have a meal at Soda Silvia again. Welcome back to Nevado de Muñeco. Yep, that's the town. This little side trail is what I thought was supposed to be the right way, but apparently that's not it. And based on my calculations, I think I made my error right here at the beginning. So somewhere around here is the correct way to start. So if you're using this video as a gauge to get a feel for the trail, hopefully I'll be able to find the right one soon. Okay, so I've found the error of my ways. Do not cross back across the river, but from the center of town, follow this road south, then it goes up this way. And the big signal that this is the correct route is right here. Okay, yep, there's the trail marker. But we can really use more of them in town, and on the trail in general. Okay, so you might be asking yourself, how did I get into the predicament of being off the trail so much today? Well, when I started, I have an app on my phone that has the GPS track, and I thought I was at the starting point, so I started, and I noticed I was a little bit off of the GPS track. But the city I was in, of Nevado de Muñeco, it's kind of inside of a valley. And a lot of times, the valley walls will kind of reflect the signal a little bit differently, and it won't put you exactly where you're at. It's pretty common. If you're in a city with a lot of high-rise buildings, you can run into the same thing. So I continued, and I went about, I don't know, 500-600 meters down the trail, and I realized I was getting off even more, and something didn't seem right. So I returned back to the starting point, and when I was there, I talked to this local lady. She's probably about 25, 28 years old, and I asked her, I was like, is this the way, that I'm supposed to be going? And she said, oh yeah, this is the way. So I was like, okay. So I continued, and then I ran into those worker men out there on the trail, and I was even further off. But even when I asked them, I was like, is this the way where I need to go? And they're like, oh yeah, you're fine. So, but now here's the part where it was, I definitely had an influence in being on the wrong way, on the wrong trail. So as I'm continuing, I'm having a great time. I am actually enjoying that trail. And I realized it was not the El Camino de Costa Rica, but I was just really enjoying the trail so much today. So I continued, and I figured, well, hey, by the time, I was like, I'm gonna hit some road, and on my map there was a road, so I was gonna go all the way till I got to that road. It probably would have added about, I don't know, 5, maybe 10 kilometers to my travel, but it was worth it. It was worth it because I was really loving being on an actual dirt trail that wasn't a road. Road walking isn't my favorite, and unfortunately for me, there's a lot of road walking on this El Camino de Costa Rica. So I was loving it. And hey, I was going to do it as a variant, but then I had to come back because the trail ended. It didn't go any further. Got to that river and that was it. So I come back to town, and here's the cool part. Okay, so I found the right way. So tomorrow morning I know exactly where to go, and I'm good. But then this couple who was just out front of their house, they saw me, and they're like, hey, it's pretty late. Are you starting hiking now? And I said, no, I went the wrong way, but I need to find a place to sleep here tonight, and grab some food, and then I'll start again tomorrow. So they started talking to each other, of course in Spanish, much faster than I can understand. And next thing you know, they offered me to stay at their place. And we just had dinner, and it was an older couple in their 60s, and their daughter, son-in-law, and grandson came over too. It's a great family place. I really like the Costa Rican people. They're very friendly, very inviting, and they make you feel like you're part of family. So so that was today. It was definitely a great experience, even though I didn't really get further on the El Camino. I had a great hike, met some great people, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of Costa Rica. Hey, good morning. Well, it's another day on trail. We're gonna try to do the correct trail today, and things may be a little bit different today because I'm actually traveling with a group. A group is actually behind me at Soda Silvia having a little breakfast. I've already had my breakfast, so we're good to go. But as of yesterday, no guide was required for this section. It was optional, but today it sounds like a guide is mandatory. So it sounds like the Mara Association may be changing the rules kind of as they go on this trail for this section, and they're doing it to make the trail safer and so on. And I understand, but since there's a little gray area, I'm gonna hop on with this local group of Ticos who are going in the same direction as me, and I'll get through it. I'll have a guide, kind of a tag along, and then I'll be through it, and then everything will be hopefully clear sailing all the way down to Capos. The group is about to enter the Palo Verde National Tropical Reserve. Once you start the trail at the correct spot, there's enough markings where it seems like it'd be very difficult to get lost. This tree that the group is in front of is supposed to be a 500-year-old tree. Here we have the back side of the tree. After passing the house back there, the trail turned into a dirt road which leads to a ranger station, and the ranger station folks even left out a table of fruit for us. As we transition from stage 10 to stage 11 of the El Camino, I say goodbye to my new Tico friends that I had the opportunity to hike with. There in the distance, if I'm correct, that's the Turrialba volcano, and it's currently erupting, although very slowly. That's a good sign that we are still on the trail, although I think the trail for the rest of the day is going to be on gravel road. Less than 100 kilometers to go. And it looks like I've found my accommodations for the evening. Looks like I'm getting my own private cabin. This may be the nicest place I've been in yet. This may be the nicest place that this hiker trash guy has been in. Nice. Very nice. One of the bad things about these cabins are the hot water in the shower. It lasts about 30 seconds and only comes out to about 75 degrees or 15 Celsius. But if you ask the kitchen nicely, yep, they'll bring a big tub full of hot water so you can clean the old-fashioned way. Hey, good evening. Well, today was stage 10 and stage 11. Stage 10 was actually pretty good. You're going through the jungle, which was great, you know, because you're not on a road, you're actually on a trail. Yeah, it was muddy, but hey, you know, you were shaded, and it was a good trail experience. We heard some animals in the distance, but when you have 18 people in your group, you're pretty much scaring away every animal that's close to the trail. So, but still, it was still great. Stage 10 was great. Stage 11, you're back on roads again, and it's still, I don't know, it's road marching. It's tough on the ankles, the feet, the knees. Again, not my ideal. But I just finished up a dinner here at these cabins. The dinner was actually pretty good, I must admit. And here's the crazy thing. As I was walking back from dinner, we're up here in the clouds, and something was touching my skin. And I couldn't really figure out what it was until I busted out my headlamp. Snow. Now, I don't know if it's because we're in the clouds, but it's actually snowing on us, which could explain why it's pretty darn cold up here. So, hey, yep, this is stage 10 and 11, and let's do stage 12 tomorrow. Hey, good morning. Well, we're getting a little bit of a late start, but we're starting. They don't serve breakfast here until 7, so the sun's up, but as you can see, the clouds are still out. So we are literally still hiking with our heads in the clouds. On Costa Rica Route 2, we are on the Inter-American Highway that links North, Central, and South America. Just a few kilometers down the road, there's a bus stop, rest stop, and restaurant where you can get some food. But I'm still full from breakfast, so I'm continuing on. At this intersection with the Chespiritos numero 3, there's a sign that tells us to turn right and we'll head in the right direction. Of note, this is also the highest point on the entire El Camino de Costa Rica at 2,347 meters. Today is Sunday, February 6th, 2022, and here in Costa Rica you're going to see a lot of flags like this one here. They represent one of the many political parties. Yes, today is election day, so people aren't allowed to drink alcohol, and there are a few other restrictions, but today everyone's expected to go out and vote for their next leaders. This is one of the many schools where the voting is taking place, and these folks over here are, I don't know, possibly poll watchers. It looks like we'll be leaving the asphalt that we've been walking on all day and going to some packed gravel dirt roads. I just received a WhatsApp message from my accommodations tonight that they are no longer accepting guests. So, looks like I'm gonna have to go with plan B. Out here in the middle of nowhere, even the police are grabbing food from this food truck. Not bad for $1.50. At that food truck was a junction in the road. To the right led to the accommodations where they weren't accepting guests, and to the left to another accommodation whose phone number was invalid when I called it. So I'm gonna go with the possibility, and I took the junction to the left. Hey there, I'm here with Donnie. He's from the Mar Association. We just happened to be hiking on the same trail. He was going for a day hike, and I'm trying to get to San Pedro. San Pedro?
San Pablo.
San Pablo.
Yeah.
Well, one of the saints. So, but yeah, it was great meeting someone from the Mar, and he's helped me out to give me some recommendations on where to stay. Anything you want to say?
Nice to meet you, Brian.
All right.
Really nice to meet you.
All right. Good meeting you too, Donnie. And I've arrived at my accommodations. There's availability, and right here under that red roof is a restaurant, so food is good. Wow, I just took one of the best showers I've had on trail yet. Plenty of hot water. It was awesome. I highly recommend this place. It's Bar and Restaurante La Hacienda. Yeah, definitely gotta come here. Well, just my luck. I go over to the restaurant here at La Hacienda, and unfortunately, there was a problem with the gas in the kitchen, and yep, they had to close the kitchen down. So I had no food options. The nearest food was actually about a kilometer and a half down the road. The owner was so cool. He's like, hey, sorry our restaurant had to close. We had a little problem. I'll give you a ride down to the other place, and we'll get you some food. So yeah, La Hacienda, great rooms, lots of hot shower. The owner is really cool and hooked me up here. Got a great burger and fries. So all right, hike on. Hey, good morning. Yep, we are beginning section 13 today, getting step by step a little bit closer to the Pacific Ocean. Passing through this section, you can see a lot of coffee plants with the coffee beans. For example, right there, those are coffee beans. After leaving the coffee plantations, we're back to a road, but there is a sidewalk and a trail marker. Woohoo! We've got our first sign for Capos, all right, and another sign. Nápoles is where I'm going to be spending the night. I've seen a lot of beer cans on the side of the road, but that one's full. But I bet you that beer is skunky. No, thank you. Okay, so this is supposed to be my accommodations for the night, but it looks a little bit locked up. After meeting at Bar El Yugo, Cesar came and met me. We're going up to the actual sleeping accommodations and eating also. Can't wait for lunch. What makes this lodging accommodation special is not only is it in a church or previously used church, but the actual stay is inside the multi-purpose room. But I am actually the first person to stay here with the Maramar Association, so I'm kind of like, you know, the guinea pig, the test dummy, to see how well it goes here. So I'm gonna check it out, enjoy the night, have 3 meals here, and then give a little feedback to the Maramar Association and how it is. But so far, it's been great. I've met the hosts and their families, and it's awesome. There's supposed to be a good view of the sunset in that direction, but with the clouds, it may not happen. Hey, good morning. Well, I just spent the night there at the church, and I gotta say, that's a great addition to the trail. Yep, there aren't that many lodging options in this part of the El Camino, so the addition of that is really appreciated. So if you're in this area, I would definitely stop there. The hosts are very, very friendly, and they make some great food. And it's a great building, very secure and safe. Here at the beginning of stage 14, we get our first views of the Pacific Ocean. It's hard to believe the journey will almost be complete. This restaurant has taken the opportunity to put their advertisement on this rock. Well, I might have to do lunch there. At this intersection, the sign tells us Quepos is to the right, but the map says to turn to the left. The views here on stage 14 are absolutely magnificent. Well, I decided to stop here at this restaurant that was on the street sign, and Donnie recommended it yesterday, and it's got a great view. The interesting thing about meals here in Costa Rica, or at least in the traditional meals, is that you order breakfast, lunch, or dinner. There's no option. It's all that's what's being served. It's just like when I was a kid. You didn't ask you didn't ask mom and dad, "Hey, what are we having?" to see if do I want to eat. No, it's you eat that or you don't eat. So and I kind of like it. And the food is always great. Tastes awesome. Well, just finished eating, which is pretty much a common theme. But the food was standard fare for here in Costa Rica. But keep in mind, it is about 1 kilometer off the trail. So if you're hungry, go for it. If you're not hungry, maybe pass it up. And we come to another junction in the road. Quepos to the right, Naranjillo to the left. And I'm going to be spending the night in Naranjillo. So here we go. All right, well, I've found my accommodations. Yep, that little red tent is going to be my castle for the evening. That blue building is actually a school, which means, yep, Wi-Fi. And the host has already brought me a nice refreshing drink. I made it here to my prison courtyard, accommodations just before the rain hit. Yep, and you can hear it bouncing off the tin roof. Hey, good morning. Yep, after a great night down there in Naranjillo, I'm here starting stage 15. Continuing west, maybe get to the Pacific today, maybe not, who knows. But great food down there with Ana Luz and a great mattress inside the tent. So, all right, now to the west. As we pass the cemetery and the cars move a lot faster, we're getting closer to Quepos. Let's hope we don't have to use this. Just breathe in that fresh salt air. Tranquility Base here. Hopper has landed. Well, there you have it, folks. 280 kilometers from the Caribbean to the Pacific Ocean. It's been a memorable journey, one that I'll never forget. But stand by and I'll give you some tips and pointers for anyone thinking about doing this trail in the future. Hey everyone, thanks for sticking around to the end of the video. Here's where I'm going to talk about things that I wish I had known more of about the El Camino de Costa Rica, and things that I didn't really find covered too in depth during my research. So first is finances. How much should you bring? Okay. Yes, there are ATMs, money machines along the trail, but I never really saw any that were directly on the trail. You had to kind of go off the trail a bit. So I never hit an ATM along the trail. I spent $42 US on average per day over the 14 days. I only really was on trail for 13 days because remember I took that one day that I went the wrong way and was loving the wrong way so much that I just made a day hike of it. But even if that was included, average $42 per day over the 14 days. All right, what currency do you bring? Colones, which are the local Costa Rican currency, or US dollars? I brought both. I spent only US dollars were only asked for in 2 locations. Everything else was all colones. So what I spent was roughly 300,000 colones and about 200 US dollars. If you bring that, you should be fine, and you should reach the end of the trail without a problem. You know, maybe add a little buffer just in case. Okay. Electricity. Okay. I almost brought my solar panel, which would have worked because there was plenty of sun, but it wasn't needed. No solar panel is needed. In fact, I got electricity, like plug it into a wall every single night except for one, and that was in the indigenous zone when I slept at that schoolhouse. If you do sections 3 and 4 and you don't even sleep there, you won't even need, you won't even go one day without electricity. Okay. I did bring a power bank, 10,000 milliamp power bank, which was really more than I needed. A 5,000 milliamp would be perfectly fine. So, okay, water. All right, it's hot here. It is, and of course everyone drinks water at a different rate, but I never carried more than 1.5 liters of water the entire trail. 1.5 liters. Now, I also brought some iodine tablets and some iodine liquid drops. So if I went by a river or a stream or something, I would just fill up there. There's no sense in carrying extra weight, you know, of carrying 3 liters of water if you can just fill up at a stream and just put a little iodine tablet in. No problem. Showers. There was a shower every single night, I think, except for 1 or 2. So the most you're gonna skip one day without a shower, which, you know, you're gonna stink anyways, let's face it. Okay, when you're out there in the sun and you're sweating, you're gonna stink, but at least you could get a shower. Now, I would say the majority of the showers were cold showers, but it's hot, so the cold shower is actually gonna be refreshing. Okay. This trail was created by the Mar Association, and the idea was to create kind of a mix between the Appalachian Trail in the United States and the El Camino de Santiago in Spain. I think part of that goes to France too, but depends on what route. But anyways, personally, I think the El Camino de Costa Rica is a lot closer to El Camino de Santiago. Why? Well, different people have different needs and different desires on a trail. This trail provides a lot of security. So if you're looking for an El Camino de Santiago type experience, you have the security of roads and towns. You're going through a road in a town, like you go through a town like every day, and sometimes multiple little towns. So if you don't feel comfortable being out in the jungle, in the wilderness, you know, sleeping, you know, in a tent or a hammock next to animals that could potentially raid your campsite, then this is actually a good trail for you. Okay. In fact, 13 of the 16 stages were on roads. So you're always on some kind of a hard dirt packed road or asphalt. So yeah, that's how it's a lot more similar to El Camino de Santiago. Hot meals were available pretty much every single day. I think only when I was at the Escuela Las Brisas, which is where I stayed right before going into the indigenous zone. That's the only time I didn't have a hot meal. But I had enough power bars and energy bars, and I just ate that for the night and for breakfast. So, but every time you go through a town, you can pretty much buy more food, buy more snacks. So I carried way more snacks than I needed, and you can easily resupply basically every day, 2 days tops. And so I think of all the snacks I brought,
I probably finished up about half of them still. So I'll still eat them, don't worry. Okay, no camp stove is required at all. You know, maybe for that one day, if you don't want to eat your power bars, honestly, I wouldn't bring a camp stove just for one day or one meal, 2 meals. It's just extra weight. Just eat some bars. You'll be fine. This trail can be very lightweight. I had a backpack that probably weighed about 14 kilograms. I saw this one guy, Buff, and he was just wearing a trail runner vest with some water and just very minimal, because he goes town to town, and I carried more stuff than is needed for this trail, but I also didn't have a place to store my other stuff because I'm going to spend an extra month here in Central America. So I was carrying a mask and snorkel, a computer, changes of clothing, just a bunch of extra stuff. So, but even at 14 kilograms, I think it was still pretty light, relatively. Okay, for me, this trail was a cultural adventure. Okay, you may have picked up on the videos, but road walking isn't my favorite. I much more prefer to be on trails in the wilderness, just closer to nature. It's more of what appeals to me on a trail. Every time I was on an asphalt pavement, it was hot. It was just really hard on the joints for me. But every time that I would cross paths or meet a local Tico are the local Costa Ricans. Why they call them Ticos, I guess Costa Ricans is just too many syllables. Tico is easier. But every time I met one of the locals, it made me realize that for me, the El Camino de Costa Rica was more of a cultural experience, away from the touristy cultural zones. Which, ironically, I'm filming this in Capos, which is a touristy zone. But so for me, it was more about the culture than the walking. Personally, I think the El Camino de Costa Rica would be great for a mountain biking transcontinental ride. If I was to do it again, that's what I'd do. I would bring a bike here and do that, and I would do the trail on a bike. Except for stages 3, 4, and 10, which obviously you're going through some crazy muddy mountains, and you won't. It's just not conducive to for a bike. You'd be carrying the bike more than anything for a long ways. So maybe a reroute around that. So hey, suggestion for the Mar Association: maybe market this as a mountain biking expedition too. I'm sure a lot of people would love to do that. You could still see the local towns along the way, and it'd be good. So whether you're hiking on roads and that's your thing, or the cultural experience, remember to hike your own hike, and that's what's more important. Whatever you do, hike it for yourself, and whatever you're looking to gain from this trail and what you're trying to give back to Costa Rica. So hey, thank you very much for watching, and please, if there's something that you have any kind of questions, just post them down below and I'll do my best to answer them. So hey, thank you very much for watching this, and remember, hike on.